Why is nostalgia such a comforting and cozy thing in life?
Probably because the future seems really scary and uncertain, and it seems like the world kind of just keeps getting worse, so we basically just feel safer retreating into the past.
Wow. Okay. You doing okay, bud?
Yeah, I'm fine. We're all fine here. Thank you. How are you?
Okay, well, maybe we should just stick to the cozy stuff instead of the pessimism about the future, okay?
Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk more cozy, nostalgic things on this week's episode, so stay tuned.
Welcome to Talk Cozy to Me, the podcast where we talk about things that are cozy. I'm one of your hosts, Dylan Cashbaugh.
And I'm your other host, Keetin Murky. And today we are having a cozy conversation with somebody who I think is a professional nerd, but not only a professional nerd, but a professional cozy nerd.
That's true.
Yeah,
because, I'm a nerd. You're a nerd.
I'm a nerd. We're
we
all
have friends
nerds.
who are nerds. But our guest today kind of brings that level of nerdiness to a different place in a way that I think is really cool, because he's kind of built his life around nerdiness in a way that allows him to connect to a level of nostalgia that I think is actually really cozy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was beautiful the way you said that.
Thank you.
Well, let's stop talking about him and maybe talk to him. So please welcome to Talk Cozy to Me podcast,
Rich Mayerik.
Yes, Richie!
Hello.
I have to yell at him saying, Richie, hi, Rich, welcome.
Thank you for having me. And I gotta say, I'm feeling very cozy right now.
Good.
You're
Good.
giving me the cozy vibes in the sweatshirt. I see all the awesome collectibles behind you.
We're just going to actually spend the whole podcast asking you questions about everything that we're seeing in this frame right now.
That was what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But I guess
cool.
maybe we should do other things first. Do you think we should do other things first?
I think before we really kind of dive into some questions for Richie, we do this thing called Hot Cocoa on every podcast where we share kind of something warm and fuzzy that affected us this week or in the past month, just something recently that made you feel good. So, Dylan, do you want to share your hot cocoa first?
Sure. I guess I did try to think of something that was a little nerdy, not to beat a dead horse with how much I'm using that word tonight. But I recently was playing some D&D with some friends of mine.
Wow.
And there was a moment where I realized, there are 7 men in this group, one of whom was a 6-month-old man, but a very, very adorable little man. And I just thought it was really cool that, there were 6 dudes hanging out playing D&D, but there was also a baby there. And, when the dad was busy doing something, he was like, hey, here, can you watch my son for a little bit? And, we would just take it, no big deal. And then that person would hand him off, and then, I already ate, so here, I'll hold him while you're eating. And it was just really cool to see, a group of men all being we're just helping to take care of a baby.
Just dudes being bros.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like when, we're getting into some things a little bit right now, but when we grew up, I feel like there was that, masculinity was whoa, taking care of a baby? No, that's not a man's job. And now it's I just love seeing that changing, because I think, communities coming together to support a family.
It takes a village. It takes a village. No, for sure.
It's just awesome to see.
Well, and even when you told me, you came home last night and told me about that, it was just because that is such a natural thing, I feel for girls, when girls hang and when your friends start having babies and stuff, or even when you're younger and your mom brings you over to somebody's house who has kids and stuff, you immediately go into kind of caretaker mode, because that's just kind of what society expects of you. So to hear you talk about a bunch of nerdy dudes getting together to play D&D and drink, but yet you're passing around a baby, that's really cool. And mom got the night off, and yes, society is changing, and it's really beautiful, and it's really cool when guys step up.
Yes, I think we'll probably get into the cozy aspects of nerdiness plenty tonight, but obviously there is, in certain groups, there's an association that some very nerdy people can also have a level of toxic masculinity, and it was just really nice to be around a group that clearly were looking to characters like Frodo and Sam and Aragorn for their models of masculinity, rather than some other ones. So That's my hot cocoa.
I'm reminded of the classic 80s movie 3 Men and a Baby, in which 3 men who are unfamiliar with raising a baby are forced to raise a baby.
Yep.
Are forced, though, is the key word.
Yes. And they do kind of manage to do the right thing, more or less. I always just think of like the ghost that was in the background of that movie, but it wasn't a ghost. This is already a diversion to another conversation. Continue with your hot cocoa.
Oh my God! Yeah, sorry.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh my gosh! Okay, well, mine is.
We gotta
not,
save the best for last.
Yeah, save the best for last. But mine is not as societally charged as I feel like yours was. But the Olympics, as I don't say Olympics, I just call it the Olympics now. The Olympics ended today, actually.
At the time of recording.
At the time of recording, I'm very, very sad. I can't just turn curling on 24/7 in my house. But one of my favorite sports in the Winter Olympics, obviously, if you couldn't guess, is figure skating. And there are a lot of other really cool winter sports. I can't name them all. Some new ones that Dylan introduced me to that I was like screaming at the TV about.
Yeah.
But I love the Olympics. But specifically at the end of the figure skating competition, they do a thing called the gala. And apparently this is like normal. They do this every year, but for one reason or another,
this is new to me. But
this is the first year I was aware of what exactly it was. I got to watch the whole thing. We were all out to brunch yesterday, and it was on the TV behind us in the bar. And this man in a panda suit came on, and we're all like, "Panda! Why is there a panda doing triple axels on the ice?" And it was actually the gold medal, the men's gold medalist winner, doing a figure skating routine to Jack Black singing "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time" from Kung Fu Panda. Hence, he was in a panda suit. But I came home last night then and watched the entirety of the gala, which was so much fun. It was so fun to see like all these figure skaters just kind of let loose, not have the pressure of the competition behind them, and just have fun. And you could see them in their art form and just like also dancing to songs they love. There was a K-pop Demon Hunters like medley song. There was somebody who did a thing to Mortal Kombat that was so fun. There was the Panda. Yes, literally Sub-Zero was there. The Panda was there, and Sub-Zero and Deadpool came to attack the Panda. There was a girl who did like a whole routine to Chicago, and just to see kind of them really let loose, and like these artists who've worked so hard just kind of have fun, and all these incredible talents on the ice at one time was really, really, really cool. And it just made me feel really warm and fuzzy, and made staying up till a stupid hour last night to watch it once you got home from D&D Babygate.
Yep.
It made being tired today so worth it, because I think about it and I feel warm and fuzzy, and I think I might throw it back on the TV later because it was wonderful. And congratulations to all the Olympians. Whether you're from the USA or from somewhere else, you should be proud of what you've done.
Norway crushed it. Norway always crushed it.
Did they win the most medals?
Yep.
Well, they're Norway.
Love winter stuff over there.
Tiny country, great at winter sports.
I'm so sad I have to wait for 2 more years.
Yep.
Well, 2 more years to the regular Olympics.
Yeah, in LA.
In LA.
Where we are.
We might be living here. Who knows? Who knows where the universe is going to take us? But 4 more years until the Winter Olympics.
Yep.
But yes.
Till the next
figure
Olympics. Skating gala.
Loved it so much. Richie, what's your hot cocoa?
Well, those are both really great cocos. You guys set the bar pretty high. But I am going to transport myself back to my grade school days. So I, of a particular generation, grew up in what I consider the golden era of McDonald's Happy Meals.
Yes, you did.
That is true.
I've got quite a collection of Happy Meal stuff to prove that. I've got the receipts. And I think there is something inherently cozy about the idea of getting picked up from school or getting off the bus and your parents taking you to McDonald's back in the day in the 80s and 90s, and you get your little Happy Meal and your nuggets, and there was just something that made it taste a little better back then. So I've always kind of had a warm, tingly association with my childhood memories linked to McDonald's. I actually had my birthday there one year. They had like their own version of like Bozo buckets, and like Birdie and Grimace were there. It was like a whole thing. So there's a point to all this, and that is that McDonald's has recently brought back the best fast food toy of all time, the Food Changeables. If you are not familiar with
Wait,
these.
the Transformers that like change from food?
Yes, these guys. So this Sprybot is kind of a nod to one of the robots that they released back in the 80s, and he turns into a little French fry container. There he goes. Boop. So they've
Oh
also
my God.
brought back. So there was robots at first, and then there were dinosaurs, and they brought back this new series with robots and dinosaurs.
Wow, wow,
There
wow.
are 16 of these things, and I am not ashamed to admit that I've been running all over East Los Angeles
Oh
trying
my
to
God.
track all these down.
How
Wait,
many do
are
you
these?
have? How many do you have?
How many do I have? Um, I don't. I don't. Um, I've got a few.
Oh my God. Wait, are available at McDonald's right now?
Right now, as we speak, including. I hope you're sitting down.
I am.
You are.
I
Good.
am.
There we
They
go.
I'm sitting down and
have
sweating.
a Boo freaking Buckets changeable. So this little robot turns into a Halloween pumpkin pail.
No. No.
Oh my God.
Okay, so
McDonald's, you need to give your Happy Meal toy person a raise. This is
Right?
incredible.
Yeah.
whoever is
Wow.
over there right
Well done,
now is
McDonald's.
killing it. So I've learned in this mad exercise in absolute insanity that some McDonald's will sell you these guys separately, and some of them make you have to buy the Happy Meal. So I have a little spreadsheet listing all the McDonald's where you can get them with just the toys and the ones you have to buy the Happy Meals. And have I had more orders of chicken nuggets than I've anticipated over the last few weeks? Maybe I have, but it's worth it. And
We said he was a nerd, ladies and gentlemen. We warned you.
look. I am nothing if not on brand. But these little guys fill me with such a warm, fuzzy sense of nostalgia because, again, these things blew my mind when I was a kid, and to have them back, and they're so well done. They're in the same scale, and they're just, I love them. So, my hot cocoa.
Can I just ask you both? Because obviously, Richie, you just kind of shared. When I think of McDonald's and like kind of like the most memorable things from my childhood in terms of McDonald's, it was the Monopoly time when we got to play the Monopoly game where we would
Yep.
go and we were trying to fill out all of our card and win stuff, and then the Beanie Babies. When
Oh.
McDonald's had the Beanie Babies, those were the two most prominent. Monopoly game happened every year, so that was a multi-year thing. But Beanie Babies, I think, were like maybe a one-time thing when Beanie Babies were at the biggest. But you have your best memory of McDonald's Happy Meals.
I mean, I'm not even kidding you that when Rich said, like, I grew up at a time that was like peak McDonald's Happy Meal time, those are what I thought of. So those.
Great minds.
No.
Great minds, still.
dude, I'm all in with Beanie Babies and McDonald's Monopoly.
Well, see,
McDonald's Monopoly. My brother and I. Judge us all you want. We used to go through the frickin' trash because sometimes people wouldn't pull their things, and we would find cups and we would pull them off and add them to our board, and it was like very personal. Like it was like me and my brother in a competition.
I
with
just
each
want to
other.
know like how your parents reacted when they came outside and saw their children rummaging through the trash.
Oh no, they were watching us do it. They were like, "Look at
Yeah.
these kids!
Look at these
being-
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneur
Take an
spirit.
initiative.
They're like, you haven't checked that one over there yet. Yeah.
They were like, "Who's gonna hit the million? Get me some
Right?
boardwalk
Yeah.
and Park Place. Come
Yeah.
on, guys. Let's get all the railroads."
Yeah.
No, but that was when McDonald's Monopoly was hot. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Loved it. Loved
Oh
it.
man.
And-
Well, that obviously gave us a taste of Rich,
Just a
but also
That's my autobiography.
how
Taste of Rich.
how would you describe who you and take as long or as little as you want? Honestly, if you want to take an hour to just say how you would describe you, but like, who are you and what makes you what could be described as a professional nerd? But I like to think of you as almost like a nostalgia connoisseur. Wow.
Ooh, I like that. I might add that to my business card. All right, so that's a loaded question, and I use the term professional nerd because it's the only way I can think of to sort of take everything that I've done over the last 20 years and put it in one box. So I feel like a big part of who I am is rooted in the experiences I had when I was young, and I've been motivated by those experiences and those feelings to do something professionally that I guess honors that younger version of me. So I went to school originally to be an archaeologist. I
Oh,
majored in anthropology, and my main sort of career trajectory was to basically be Indiana
Indiana
Jones.
Jones.
Exactly.
Oh,
obviously.
Richie, that
Yeah.
makes so much sense.
And
This is why I was in love with him the moment I met him.
There we go.
and being a Hoosier myself, it all just kind of made sense. I was into history. I was into learning all of this arcane knowledge about these long lost, obscure cultures and societies, and I wanted to be out there trying to unearth them and present that information to the world. And it wasn't until I got into college till I realized that really doing anything of any practical merit with anthropology was going to warrant, at the minimum, about 8 years of school. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to stick around until I got my doctorate. So I was kind of in a crisis of career at the moment. And as I was finishing up an associate's, a friend of mine, his name is Tristan, was moving to Los Angeles. And he was like, "You should just come out to LA with me. What's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out, you can always move back." So I took him up on it, and I moved out to LA, and I've been here ever since. And what I've been able to do, whether intentionally or otherwise, was kind of transition that anthropological sort of mindset into pop culture. So I've worked on shows that I grew up watching, having a fundamental effect on me, including the Svengoolie show. I have produced shows about toys and theme parks and independent toy stores. I've helped bring toy lines to life. I've curated a comic book library and a lot of things in between. And so it's hard for me to just pick one thing to say, this is what I do, but I try and find things that I am very passionate about and then make those things pay my bills. And there's really the
Can I? I'm just gonna fill in a couple like gaps that you
please.
did not fill in, and because you're not a name dropper. But when he says he curated a comic book library, he did that for Marvel, for
I
Marvel, for the cinematic Marvel
I did.
universe. Richie curated
So a
that.
little backstory on that one. So Marvel Studios, I don't know how in the weeds we want to get, but originally they were in a studio in Manhattan Beach, which is on the far other side of Los Angeles. And when they were acquired by Disney and moved to Burbank, all that came with them. And so one of the things that happened at Marvel Studios once they got to Disney was they would get a shipment of every trade paperback that was published every week. And it would get sent to Disney, and it would get picked up in the mailroom by a PA and carted into a closet and just left there. And one day, this is all true story, Kevin Feige was walking down the hallway as this process was happening, and the door was open, and he stopped almost mid track and was just like, "Hey, what's all that in there?" And someone's like, "Oh, that's where we keep the comic books." And they're like, "What comic books?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we get all the comic books every week." And he's like, "And who goes in there? Who sees all that stuff?" And said person was like, "No, no one." He was like, "That seems counterintuitive. These should be available for our staff who writes these comic book movies." So
You're giving me more faith in Marvel through this story, like that Kevin Feige's like, hey, let's use all the materials and resources we have.
let's use
Yeah.
all these physical media resources for our staff. So it was decided that they would build a comic book library at Marvel Studios in the Snow White building, second floor. And I had a mutual connection who I had worked with before, and I guess my reputation precedes me, but he was there working on casting for, I believe it was the sequel to Ant-Man, and he was like, "I know a guy who can do this." And so I got a call to come and work a contract position at Marvel Studios to curate a comic book library, which still exists today. If you're ever at the Snow White building, second floor, there's a big library, rolling ladder, all sorts of props, and that's my handiwork.
I love that like the people that worked at Marvel were like, we're not nerdy enough. Who can we bring in
That's-
that really knows what they're talking about? And it was
You
you.
gotta bring in a ringer.
I also love that the same person that brought Richie into Marvel was the same person that probably brought Katie O'Brien into Marvel,
yeah.
which is someone we went to college with. So, and that is literally just one of the
Yeah.
very small, incredible, like nerdy jobs that Richie has fulfilled.
So context too for listeners. We have known Rich for several years.
Yes.
But I don't know if I realized that you studied anthropology.
I did not
at first.
either.
And it makes so much sense to me because you do approach nerdiness and pop culture and nostalgia from an anthropological perspective, the way that you like document everything. It's so cool to think about that way. I love it.
There is a method to the madness. Yeah.
The other thing, Richie, I want to talk to you about is because, like, speaking of being like the Dr. Jones of, I think, pop culture and nostalgic, nerdy things in Hollywood, he is also a Universal Studios tour guide. And can you tell us a little bit about kind of working at one of the coolest studios in Los Angeles and kind of the movie nostalgia that you get to kind of just, I guess, riff on a daily basis when you're there?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a little cliched, but it's literally one of those jobs where, they say if you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work. And every day that I'm at Universal and I get to basically regale tour tram guests with the history of Universal, it's like a dream come true because I grew up as a big monster kid, so of course Universal Studios was like my favorite studio. Jaws is in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. By the time I was like 8 years old, I had seen not only like Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy, but also like The Invisible Ray and The Black Cat and all these other Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff movies. And so Universal meant so much to me growing up. So to basically be able to be an ambassador of that studio now and to have the kind of flexibility that they allow guides to basically craft the tour to fit your own interests and the things that you're most interested about. Because we're talking about 111 years of history. So even in a long tour, that's a finite amount of time to talk about all of that history. So you really get the chance to curate the tour the way that you feel most comfortable sharing it. So it's so cool to not only be able to talk to people, not only about, Psycho and Jaws, but like The Thing, which is my favorite John Carpenter movie. It filmed in Soundstage 14, and I get to talk to people about how we refrigerated that soundstage during production because they had to create the illusion it was a cold environment. And I get to talk about the Gill Man from Creature from the Black Lagoon and how they filmed most of that movie in Park Lake. And it's just such a cool thing to be able to do. And I think, and again, this is schmaltzy, but I feel like this fits the vibe of the podcast, being able to talk to guests afterwards and have them come up to me and say like, wow, I've been on this tour so many times and I've never heard someone mention what you did today or, the way that you gave the tour. And that's as good as any paycheck.
So where would you say like your love of these movies, and because I know it's not like you mentioned earlier, like, when you grew up, like having that experience, but also like I know that your affection for like, these classic monsters. Spoiler, you were not alive when Creature from the Black Lagoon came out, for example. So it's not like you have that personal nostalgia for it. So where does your love of all of these things come from?
I was raised in a very endearingly kooky family of cinephiles. My mom, my Aunt Sandy, my Aunt Paula, my Uncle Jim, my cousin Eric. Like, it was just this zany group of people who just loved old movies. So I, where most kids my age were watching movies that were, created directly for them. I was watching those movies too, but I was also watching things like, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and again, all the Universal Monster catalog and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This really cheesy, but in the best way possible, horror movie starring Chuck Connors called Tourist Trap, like things that no other kid my age was watching. So these were like hardwired into my brain at a very early age. But because it was just ubiquitous, it never felt like weird or out of place. That was just like, it felt as normal watching that stuff as anything else that my, friends were watching that were more in line with a kid of 7 or 8 years old.
All right, I'm gonna be really selfish and also really stupid for a moment because
Okay.
there might only be two people listening to this that have any sense of what this is, and those people are my parents. But Svengoolie, this is something that you worked on that I think to me is one of the coolest shows of like pulling these archival like old horror movies out and showing them to audiences for like specifically like Chicago area viewers.
Yeah, why don't you explain what Svengoolie is?
Yeah, well, no,
So
Rich.
Rich
Will you
should
explain what Svengoolie is as
and-
someone who knows a little bit
Yes,
more about it than I
yes.
do? And what, like, how has that impacted you, and what was that like?
That was surreal. So, for those of you not aware, Svengoolie is a show that fits the mold of your typical late night TV horror host, similar to Ghoulardi or even Elvira in the more contemporary sense. And essentially, what it was a spooky themed host who would screen old horror movies. Sometimes they were public domain, other times, they probably didn't really cost a whole lot to license. Every once in a while, you'd get, an A-tier Universal movie, and not only would they screen the movies, but the host would have these interstitials and skits in between, and in the case of Svengoolie, he would even kind of do some very light riffing every once in a while. And the Svengoolie I grew up with is a pioneer of Chicago television named Rich Coase, who took over from the original Svengoolie, and he has this sort of vampire, but also Groucho Marx sort of personality, and this amazing costume. And he comes out of a coffin, and so I grew up watching this show with my parents. I mean, it was on WCIU. Every weekend, it was like appointment viewing. So I watched so many Roger Corman and William Castle movies through Svengoolie. And as it turns out, through a very kind of like convoluted, sort of just pie in the sky sort of way, I managed to actually land an art department PA job on Svengoolie. It's like the first job I technically had out of college. And it was so surreal because at the time I was like, oh, this is it. I mean, this is the peak. It's only downhill from
Right.
here. I peaked early.
Svengoolie!
And I wasn't mad about it. But again, it was one of those things where it was part-time, and I'm just so grateful to have that opportunity and to have that sort of connection personally and professionally to something that meant so much to me as a kid.
I mean, the other really cool thing is, before I want to kind of like bring this all back to Cozy, that Richie has introduced me to within Los Angeles is the Breakfast Club. And for people who do not know what the Breakfast Club is, Richie, please explain to everybody what the Breakfast Club is and why it is probably the coziest thing you can participate in Los Angeles.
Okay, and I know there's so much we can cover about the Breakfast Club, so I'll try and keep this short. But the Breakfast Club is essentially the most wonderful, loving, endearing, friendly assortment of weirdos you'll ever meet
Truly.
at 7 in the morning. And if that sounds like madness, if you're not a morning person, you go once and you will be. This club has been around for now 101 years, and it was started by a bunch of illustrious industry types, and it's morphed into this inclusive collective of just friendliness and weird, quirky vibes. But it's also, like Keetin said, it's such a cozy vibe because everyone's welcome, and you can walk in and not know a single person there, and by the time you leave, you've made like 30 new friends. And there is breakfast, and there's presentations, and a whole bunch of quirky rituals, and so much more than we have time to talk about today. But it's something that I kind of stumbled upon by accident, and I feel like the universe was pulling me towards this group, knowing that I had to be a part of it. And it's become one of the most treasured parts of my life out here.
I've been once, and I am a somewhat morning person, and I will never forget being in the car at 6 a.m., having gotten up at 5 and being like, what the hell am I doing? I have the day off, and I'm pulling out of my driveway right now to drive to be in a room with a bunch of strangers. And it truly was and is. It was so cozy. It was so fun. It was so immediate, welcoming into a community, and also just so nostalgic. Like it felt like something from simpler times. Just the way it was like a gathering of human beings who all had good intentions and kindness in their heart and wanted to kind of be there for the same community. And I think there was a Turner Classic Movie speaker that was there that day and told some incredible stories. But yeah, I mean, I think there is something. It's so hard to find community in Los Angeles and to find like cozy community, I think, in Los Angeles. And the Breakfast Club is kind of one of the coziest communities I think I've ever been able to partake in within Los Angeles. So yeah, if you're ever in LA, go on Wednesday morning, at 7 a.m.?
Wednesday mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. And I feel like, to your point, Keetin, it's something that people don't even realize that they need so much. I think, again, not to get on my soapbox of, how people should approach their social lives, but I feel like we are so distanced from people through inundating screens and whatnot, and being able to have an actual in-person sort of community moments. People walk in and it's so much something that's not part of our lives that they have their defense systems up. They're like, what is this? Is this like a cult or something? Like, what's the angle? Are you guys going to try and like rope us into a timeshare or something? But yeah, and then they walk out and they're just like, wow, you just really want people to get to know their community and have a good time. And yeah, that's really all it is.
I think there's something about the multi-generational thing about it. And I think like to kind of bring it back to all the things, Rich, that you were kind of a nerd of in terms of whether it's movies, whether it's kind of nostalgic toys, Happy Meal toys, like movies, all of the stuff, like it's about connecting with people, not over a screen. It's about connecting with people about common interests and just like face to face. And I think there's something so cozy and nostalgic about all of that. No matter the age, I think I feel so lucky if like there's an 80 or 70 or 80-year-old that I get to connect with, like, because I don't think that's the norm.
I do think it's in this society. I'm just going to go on a whole bunch of
get on that
rants about
soapbox,
society
baby.
today,
Get on that
apparently.
soapbox, baby.
But like, I feel like so much of our groups that we are a part of are all about like uniformity in so many ways, where it's like people who are very similar age to us, very similar backgrounds, interests, where it keeps you very contained to certain mindsets. And when you can also be a part of a community that does expose you to different ages, different backgrounds, people from all over, whatever it is, but like more range of everything, I think that can be so refreshing, like when you actually do it, because it just feels so different and so cozy and comforting in a way that I think a lot of other places don't have.
Well said. Yeah. Well said, Dill. Well said.
Rich, I want to ask you, of all the things and like that you're into, what about, because I feel like every single kind of interest you have, single thing you nerd out about, there is a coziness to it. Where do you think that coziness comes from? Like, what is at the heart of the coziness
just
of
a
nerddom?
light little bit of psychoanalysis.
Yeah.
I think the cozy element that you're referring to, as far as the things that I'm interested in, it all almost like I compare my toy collection and my a collection of vintage ephemera, whether it's fast food or theme park paraphernalia or any of the other weird stuff, monster movie posters and cutouts and whatnot. It's like time travel for me, because having these kind of tangible totems of things that make me who I am within arm's reach, or being able to walk into my home and see them, it basically feels like I'm still connected to that part of my life while still living in the present. So it's this wonderful balance of tying into my past and all the things that make me who I am, and being able to share that with other people who are into it as well. So I think that might be a big part of it.
I love that. And one of the things we did just get to go and see the museum which literally, Richie, you should have your own museum.
Yeah, I'm going to keep telling you this until it happens.
We got to go into his home, and we've heard lore about this man's collection of vintage and collectible toys, as well as horror paraphernalia. Frank, if you're watching on screens right now, you can see the life-size version of Frankenstein in a Hawaiian shirt that lives at Richie's kitchen table, which I totally understand that his girlfriend has an issue with, because I have an issue with Frank.
So Lil is a little bit of a problem with Frank, but I'm holding out hope that one day they're going to bury the hatchet and they're going to get along.
I mean, the sad thing is, as Dylan mentioned, is he's wearing a really cool shirt, and you could be wearing that shirt, but you're letting Frank wear it constantly.
This is the neurosis about some of this stuff. I actually bought that shirt being like, wow, that would look really great on my Frankenstein monster sitting at my kitchen table. Not even like registering, like, oh, that would also be a good shirt, that you could wear. No, it's like, oh, he'll look great in that shirt.
Why didn't you buy 2 shirts?
Yeah,
then you could match
Frank. You guys could match.
Where were you, Dylan? Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made.
Yep. I'm so sorry.
Well, Richie, tell us about, because I think that's another kind of part of your nerddom and your nostalgia is your collectibles. Tell us about some of the collectibles that you do have on display within your home. And
what are we looking at right now?
What are we looking at and what can't we see?
Okay, so there is an entire, I call it an office because there is a desk, so work does happen in there, but it's mostly an excuse to have an extension of, like you referred to, the museum. So within that office, there are several display cases, a couple vintage arcade cabinets, and a whole bunch of other fun, wild stuff that, again, feels like walking into my own head, which I gotta tell you is pretty cozy, because it's a pretty great place up there. This right here is kind of like a rotating collection. It's like, you have your featured museum kind of like additional fee to see type display, and that's kind of what this is here. So within these cabinets, I've got some bootleg toys because I love a good, weird, knockoff, bootleg, unlicensed version of Mr. T or Godzilla or RoboCop, all of which are represented in this case. I also have a display case full of weird, gross-out toys because that was a thing at some point in the 80s. Including a line, they were called breath blasters, and you squeezed them, and this foul scent emitted, and
why?
One of them,
why?
Because kids love gross stuff, Keetin. Come on, you know this.
Kids are gross.
So one of the figures from the breath blasters line actually was purported to smell like a decomposing body. True story. So these didn't last long. They were pulled off the pegs and months after being released. The entire set is back there in one of those cabinets. But I do actually have a few things that really are specifically very meaningful for me. And one of them, and this is my original from, I must not have been any older than 4 years old. And this is Max Steel from a relatively obscure line called RoboForce that had the misfortune of premiering at Toy Fair the same year as Transformers. So these guys really never even got a fair shake. They were just instantly pushed to the side for Transformers. But I loved this line as a kid. And this specific RoboForce figure, Max Steel, was one of the very first toys that I can remember actually buying with my dad at Toys R Us. And I remember seeing
wow,
this whole cool his little wobbly arms and the suction cup, and it just looked like Johnny Five and a lot of the robots from the era, and I instantly fell in love with this toy line. And I got the entire set. Meanwhile, all my friends were collecting far more popular toys, but I loved these guys. And skipping over a lot, but when I fell into a position after producing a show about toys that allowed me to help bring back a toy line, it was this toy line. And this
Oh man.
is Max Steel from the relatively recently released RoboForce line that I am privileged to say I helped bring back. So being able to have this figure from my childhood safe and sound and have this guy and have this connection and being able to kind of be the conduit between the two is it's like a simulation, you know? Like I can't so yeah,
Blue pill or red pill?
right. This is yeah, really kind of sums up a lot of my connection with toys and what I do professionally.
And I love that, like, it, you have such a love for these things that you've been able to bring that same love and appreciation to others to, like, help other people enjoy it and also bring out their own experiences and create new memories and things like that. And I just think it's really cool how you are able to take this approach to life that you have and kind of share it with others in a way to give them a little bit of coziness too.
Well, and not only that is like you've been featured in a few TV shows, right? With your collections and with what you kind of
I have
unabashedly love.
I've been on Collector's Call with Lisa Welshel, which is a show on MeTV, WCIU in Chicago, the same network that Sven Gulli airs on. So my collection was highlighted in that one, and I've been on a few other shows on YouTube, Magnificent World of Toys, and some other ones. So yeah, it's always cool to be able to kind of explain why I'm passionate about these things and being able to relate to other people who kind of have a similar connection to these kinds of toys.
All right, well,
I have another one that I actually, if we have time.
do it.
Oh,
Yes.
show us, Richie.
Because I couldn't just pick one, because that's just not how my brain works. So, another toy that is incredibly near and dear to me, and I have talked about this one before, but it was one of the instances of seeing something of the toy variety as a very small child and just having my mind blown. So, picture kitchen table, TV in the other room, I'm eating a bowl of cereal before school, and a commercial runs for Heinz ketchup. And this commercial features a kid about my age, and he's eating lunch, and he's kind of like, he's just not feeling it. He's kind of his plate, and his mom's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And he's like, "No." And she's like, "What if we brought this to the table?" And it's a Heinz ketchup bottle, and this kid imagines a scenario where he's piloting a spaceship that's a Heinz ketchup bottle, and it's blasting like little French fry asteroids and stuff, and flying burgers, and you know you're sucked into this kind of kitchen table fantasy, and you're like, wow, yeah, I can relate to such a scenario. But then the commercial cuts to a promotional offer where, with I believe 2 proofs of purchase and $12, you could actually have your own Heinz ketchup burger bottle blaster. I was the only one in the room. My grandma was in the kitchen, and I'm like feverishly looking around to anyone within earshot to like pull them towards the television to let them know this is a thing that I needed their help to acquire. And then the commercial ended, and I was like, I'm never gonna see it again, and I will never have this thing. But my grandma was actually paying attention, and without my knowledge, she actually sent in for the Heinz Burger Blaster. So, in my hands is my original childhood Heinz ketchup bottle. Very unassuming lunch accoutrement, but with a twist of the cap. And it is now
Oh my
a
god.
spaceship
It is a Heinz ketchup transformer. It is a Heinz ketchup transformer.
ready to blast your lunch with ketchup rays.
Oh
Got the box too. So yeah,
my god.
this is one of those things where they ask like, in a fire, what would you grab? This would be one of them, because again, I loved it from the moment I saw it, from the moment I got it, and I've had it ever since. And this silly thing represents so much I love about vintage toy collecting. Yeah. So.
I loved like back in the day when like they were like, send in like box
Yeah,
tops, send in
right.
whatever. It's like you had to do the legwork to get the gold.
But also, like, pre-internet, if you saw that commercial, you couldn't then like, oh, I'll just look online to figure out how to do it. It was like, no, that was your source of information. That 30 seconds on TV that maybe you would see again, maybe you wouldn't.
Who knows? Yeah.
Grandma saw it though. Grandma was locked in.
She knew.
Yeah.
This is where Richie gets his Richie from. Grandma.
It's the invisible strings.
I think I want to know if. All right. Sorry, another brief rant. Very brief though, and that I think Rich, I want to hear his thoughts on. But basically, we are in a very digital age where there are so many things that are only exist in a digital world, and there were attempts to like create collectible digital things like NFTs.
Ugh.
Oddly enough, didn't work out too great. But you have these physical things that, like, if you take care of it, it will always exist. And you can always turn to that thing as a time machine to, like, take you right back to where you first got it and how it felt as a kid. I guess I want to hear what you might have to say further about that idea of like the difference between having these physical objects, these physical records, these anthropological items that take you back to your childhood compared to
Absolutely.
this digital world that we live
And I
in.
think I've seen it, every once in a while, in a comment thread or on Reddit or something, someone will post a picture of some toy from 40 years ago, and someone will invariably comment and say like, oh my gosh, I had that. I haven't thought about that thing in 40 years. And like all of a sudden it opens up this lockbox of memories that they have attached to that thing. And I think because there's only so much cranial space, sometimes these memories can be fleeting, but to have something that immediately connects you to that time in your life, they don't get filed away quite as quickly, and you can kind of live in a world where those exist. And again, it's one of those things where I'm sure that there's some people out there who will be like, oh, well, isn't it unhealthy to live in the past or to kind of have one foot, years and years ago? And I really don't think it is, because I think there's something healthy about being able to appreciate those memories and those experiences that fundamentally make you who you are, and to be able to kind of, to put a testament to this podcast, to use those kind of cozy and fuzzy feelings to shape your day-to-day perspective in, our current times, and especially now, like to your point, when so many things are digitized and so many things are like, oh, you don't need physical media anymore, or you don't need, tangible comic books. Everything can be on a Kindle, or everything can be in the cloud. And it's just like, I feel like sometimes we're losing sight of one of the most important aspects of these extensions of our life.
No, I completely agree. I mean, call me a hoarder all you want, but I think I think also I am somebody who has ADHD, and I think I almost personify a lot of things, even when I was a kid, that I didn't quite understand when I was younger, of like the memories and like the personality that comes from just an object.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you, Rich. It's like, oh, some people might call it unhealthy. Some people might be like, oh, why are you still stuck in the past? Why are you so fixated on that material items, like hoarding, whatever? But I think there is something about being able to go back to a time in life where everything did seem simpler, and you could find joy in something as basic as a ketchup bottle that turns into a spaceship. Which doesn't seem so simple when I say it out loud. But
So I should just think of every article of clothing that you have as your transformer.
It is. It's my transformer because I'm the type of person who I remember every place I've worn maybe this article of clothing. And so like the memories from that event correlate to that article of clothing. And that's why it's very difficult for me to maybe get rid of some things. I'm not a collector in the sense that Rich is, in terms of like the incredible toys that like vintage toys that you have. But I understand, I think, where the joy comes from, that nostalgia and that collector's mentality. That all being said, I think nerdiness, not obsession, but just like fandoms, finding love within the simple things that, because I think kids, they know how to find joy without the materialisticness of it, with imagination. And I think imagination is one of the coziest things that you can have. And so, and
like we've had a previous podcast where we interviewed a toy store owner.
Yes.
And like talked about that, how like the physical toys like that allow you to imagine worlds that you couldn't have before. And I think that is so cool when you're a kid, of course. But I love that like you have brought that beyond that in life, of like, it's not just, yes, you can probably, if you wanted to, you can take those toys out and imagine some probably pretty dope worlds. But also like thinking of them like a time machine that transports you back to your childhood. I love. And I guess we have kind of danced around this, but I just want to ask a question of you as the authority on this matter. Rich, why is nostalgia so cozy to people?
I think, and again, I can kind of link this to something that I've worked on in my career. One of the shows that I had the privilege of working on was a show called The Toys That Made Us. And a show very firmly rooted in nostalgia and about the stories about how some of the most iconic toy lines of all time came to be. And going to panels at San Diego Comic-Con about that show specifically and talking to people in the audience afterwards, I would have people my age or older, and they would come up to me and say, like, I watched the G.I. Joe episode with my son, and now he's really excited about collecting these figures too, and we're going out and we're finding them together. Or, I had a guy come up to me and say, I never had a Barbie, but, I watched the Barbie episode with my daughter, and it was like our favorite episode of the series. And like being able to use these toys or items and collectibles to bring generations together, especially when it's a parent and their children, and being able to have that shared memory, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that.
No.
Love it.
I love that so much too. And I think to bookend this, it goes back to Indiana Jones. It's the hunt. It's, finding the things that belong in a museum and protecting them for future generations. And you have done that with the ketchup bottle spaceship, thanks to Grandma.
Thank you, Grandma.
Thank you, Grandma. But yeah, look at you. Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Rich, for people who maybe want to see more of your collection, know more about what you do, follow you across the board, where can they kind of stalk you?
You can find me on Facebook. My name Richard Mayerik. I recently started a brand new Instagram account, which I will soon put some fun stuff on. It's also Richard Mayerik, trying to make this as simple as possible. So find me on those socials. You can also find me and my creative partner Nick at the Secret Compartment Show, which is a YouTube series. You can find us on our website, our Instagram account. It's all the Secret Compartment Show. And it's like if Space Ghost Coast to Coast and Mystery Science Theater collided and talked about toys. And it's
oh my God.
just an unfiltered, bonkers sort of, cavalcade of fun and snarkiness and love of toys. So check us out.
I
appreciate, by the way, that you did That's the unfiltered. This is the very filtered Rich, obviously. This
Yes.
is very toned down.
Very filtered, yes.
Very filtered. Just get 2 margaritas and Richie.
There we
Ooh,
go.
it's wild.
There we go.
I also have to give a shout out to Richie because when we talk about trivia, Richie is one of our core trivia team members.
true.
He is our sports ball expert.
Who knew?
Our
It's
obviously
true.
movie
like
expert.
this whole conversation.
We've not even brought up trivia, and I feel
but
bad
I also
about
love
it.
that like we've been talking about such nerdy things, and the first thing you're like, he's also the sports expert. It's like,
Yeah, which
because
is-
why not? Why not?
Because why not?
I'm like an onion. I got a lot of layers, people.
There we go. There we go.
Rich, wait, can I just ask him a couple like specific cozy like?
You can. I was gonna say the one thing that I want to know from Rich before we go, just because it is, I feel like you're gonna have a really interesting answer here. Is for you, what is the coziest movie to watch?
For me,
Sorry, you can't say a few.
Oh, I mean,
it doesn't need
for
to be
me-
just one.
Top 3.
well, my number one coziest movie and one of my favorite movies of all time, and a movie that I think has had a profound effect on who I am, is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's a movie that I will never get tired of watching. It's a movie that will never not make me tear up at times because it's so I might, if I keep talking about it, I probably will. But yeah, Paul Rubens' Pee-wee had such a huge effect on my life, and that movie is so wonderfully cozy to me. So that would be a big one. Also, another one of my favorite movies, coincidentally also directed by Tim Burton, is Ed Wood, which is the most amazing, beautiful, sweet, quirky biopic ever about a guy who has the infamous designation as being the worst director of all time, but he was doing exactly what he loves, and that's all that mattered to him. And it's just a beautiful story about a guy following his heart who loves a lot of the same stuff that I do. So those would be my 2 big ones.
Well, and now I have a follow-up because that was part of my cozy quick question for you. But obviously you are a nerd for a lot of things. But what to you is the coziest fandom?
The coziest fandom. Gosh.
I feel like that's gonna like cause riots.
Okay,
I know,
It's just your opinion, Richie. It's Sophie's choice for Richie.
Okay. The coziest fandom for me, I think, and this is going to be a little outside of left field, but I think it's very nerdy, kind of group-friendly board games because you get to have a communal experience,
Yeah.
immersing yourself in a fantasy world with your closest friends and family, and it has hallmarks of a lot of the stuff that we talked about. You know, it's got a lot of fantastic artwork that you'll find in comic books. A lot of times you'll have a really exquisite amount of detail in the pieces, and then just the story and the narrative too. So I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say tabletop gaming, board gaming. Yeah, the coziest.
Do you have a
I
favorite
support
game? A favorite game then?
I wouldn't even know where to begin. Too many to name.
But we know his favorite Happy Meal toy.
We do. There we go. And we can go get it right now. I kind of actually want, like, not right now, maybe.
It's this guy. You can still get this guy right now. Go out and grab yourself a Boo Bucket robot.
I'm probably gonna get McDonald's in the next.
We
couple
did
days.
run to McDonald's to get the Grinch meal.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We did, and we both have socks, the Grinch
Yep.
socks.
Honestly,
and
I would rather have those toys than those socks. Though.
I would rather have the socks because they're more practical. But no offense.
Okay, she didn't mean it, buddy.
Obviously, I like clothes more than I like toys. But yeah,
right.
we've all learned this.
Rich, I genuinely look forward to the day that I can go to your museum and see all of your things. But in the meantime, I really appreciate you coming on the pod and talking to us. This was so much fun.
I could not have said it better myself. I can't wait to have you guys over. It's been an absolute pleasure being a part of your show, and, you know, thanks for having me.
You know, we didn't even get into his tiki love and
Oh my God, you're
nostalgia.
right.
That's like...
You
I wore a
guys-
tiki shirt,
Just
and we didn't
for
even
Richie,
get into
he
it.
has an incredible tiki cup collection.
He does.
And is a tiki bar connoisseur. But maybe that's just another
Future
episode.
That's a
episode.
future episode. We could probably do an entire episode about the coziness of tiki bars, because I feel like...
Of tiki bars.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another hour-long conversation.
There
right
we go.
Stay
Love it.
tuned. Stay
Yeah.
tuned. Richie takes us to his coziest tiki bars
Beautiful.
in the future.
Don't-
I
I love
can't
this
wait.
Don't
plan.
tempt me with a good time.
Great. Well,
Rich, thank you. Thank you so much. I feel like this conversation has been like a warm hug and just a journey down childhood memory lane, and I love it. And yeah, I hope other people enjoyed it as much as I did.
Me too.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
that was Richie.
that was our interview with Rich Mayerik, our friend that sometimes goes by Richie.
But he's an expert. He's a nerd. He's the Indiana Jones of nostalgia.
I love that. That's such a cool way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like truly thinking about like his anthropological approach to nerddom changes the way that I think about Rich as a human and makes me love him even more. Anthropological?
Nerd approach. That was a hot phrase. You guys, I had 2 margaritas and then did an interview, and now I'm tired.
And now we've got tea.
But we have delicious tea.
We do. Do you wanna talk about this tea or try the tea?
Well, first of all, I think this tea is so appropriate for pairing with chatting with our friend Rich, our Indiana Jones of nostalgia, because it's called
Side Quest. And this is an herbal Earl Grey. So it's a caffeine-free
But it tastes like Earl Grey.
which is kind of awesome, really, because I'm a big Earl Grey fan. But we're also recording this. It's now currently 10:30 p.m. So caffeine,
No, not when you're
caffeine,
over
please.
30.
Nope.
No caffeine after 3.
Yeah. So I guess I'm a big fan of this tea. I think it's got that Earl Greyness to it, but like in just like in a soothing way.
You know
it's
what?
cliche teas, man.
It
They
tastes
don't
like
do
a
wrong.
tea Indiana Jones would love.
I
Doesn't
believe
it?
that, I guess.
It does. It tastes like kind of a hot professor tea.
Wow.
Yeah, I said it. Indiana Jones. Hot
no one's
professor.
arguing with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a historian, and it belongs in a museum. And
This tea belongs in a museum.
this side quest tea. But I think it does taste like a side quest.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Good job, cliche.
Yeah, great job. But while you go on your own side quest this week, until next time, where can they follow us, Dill?
Well, they can follow us all over the social medias. We are at Talk Cozy to Me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yes.
And while you're there, leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, like.
What was your favorite toy growing up?
I know,
What
that's,
thing
like-
do you nerd out for nostalgia purposes?
Guys, we want to get to know you. We hear a lot from us. We want to hear from you because we want to know what your favorite toys are, what kinds of teas you like, whatever you want to let us know, really.
What American Girl doll did you have? Because that's all I could think about this whole
Oh,
thing.
yeah, because it was, you said this before. I don't remember her name. Kathy or something? No, that's not right. No. What is it?
Kirsten!
Oh, it was a cuh.
Kathy?
I got a cuh, at least.
Kathy?
That's,
You thought Kathy was an American Girl
I'm honestly
doll?
proud of myself for having the right consonant sound at
Kathy?
the beginning.
Wow. You know what? I'll give you a pass because you did recognize that my wedding dress was somewhat trying to mimic Cinderella's dress in the live action remake.
I
so
do all right sometimes.
You're okay. Kathy? Kirsten was my first American Girl doll.
It's close enough.
I wanted Felicity, though, because she had a horse.
Oh, well.
Yeah, and she was from, like, around the Revolutionary War time. So it's fine. I love the history aspect of American Girl dolls. Anyways, until next time, stay cozy, y'all. Bye-bye.